All right, welcome back to the channel, and thank you for tuning in to Johnny's Motorized Bikes. As always, hit the like, hit the subscribe, comment the video in the comments, what have you. So I don't know where I'm at. This is pretty little, just something simple, but I gotta throw it in at least so you can see what's going on, because I just want to keep you up to date with everything going on with my new daily Jokester. So yesterday Benny and I went to the mailbox because I had to pick up a box. That is the white box right there that says post office. There's some goodies in there that we are going to definitely check out and play with on the channel. It is everything I was told, but not everything I was expecting. But now that I see one up close, now we know what to say. Anyway, I'll explain more what that means much later, because we're not going to be anywhere near playing with that right now. So first of all, Jokester is about going on 4 months old. 1 month doesn't count though, so technically only 3 months of use. 1 month doesn't count because I had it down when I blew it up over revving it and stuff, and I just was trying to work out the kinks and stuff and get everything kind of more finalized. So 3 months of runtime. It's got somewhere around 5,000 miles on it already. You know, I put the 29-inch 700C wheels on it, the 3-spoke blade design. It's very similar to what I have on Tweaker, but a little bit more edgy, and I really like them. So for the past maybe month of me riding it, I'd say, I've noticed that when I hit the gas, it felt like the bike would slightly want to take to the left. And now mind you, it's rear wheel drive, so that's like really troubling. Like, am I leaning it? And I've been riding bikes for a very long time. Not even just motorized, bicycles. Okay, that's where I started my whole love of motorbikes, was with just bicycles, and I can't ride the bicycle like I used to. So I noticed that it just felt like it was going left. I'm like, maybe I'm just leaning left and it's not clicking. I'm getting older, maybe just things are getting slower and I'm not catching it as much. You know, I'm just trying to rationalize in my head why it's like this, because when I wiggle the wheel, I don't feel anything. There's no excessive play. Now mind you, this wheel comes with sealed bearings, so it has sealed bearings. This is actually from Tweaker's original rear wheel setup. There shouldn't be any play side to side and whatnot. Now there was no play. There was a minimal amount when you wiggle the whole wheel, but when you wiggle a wheel that's 29 inches in diameter, well, plus the 2.5, 3 inches of tire, you're 32 inches, whatever, 31 inches, something like that, give or take. You're gonna get a little bit of side to side play no matter what, just because there's flex in the metal, there's that much length. Even if something only moves a 1/2 millimeter, by the time you get from moves a 1/2 millimeter here, by the time it gets out here, it's gonna look like 2 inches. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's dramatic because of the lever fulcrum idea, if you understand what I mean. Okay, so I never noticed any excessive play, and I've been feeling like the bike was taken to the left for about a month, and I'm like, man, something just doesn't feel right. Now this is, mind you, I started noticing it after I had the bad lockup. So I was doing about 40, 41 cruising, and the rear wheel locked up on me because the chain, 2 links got too close together because of poor maintenance on my part, and I had a spring tensioner and it didn't take the slack out. When I coming up over a hill, I decelled and then re-accelerated again really quick, which lengthened and shortened the chain again really quick with the motor, and that sucked in 2 links into the casing, and it just jammed up the wheel on me. Messed a lot of stuff up. I was on my way to mailbox there. I had a very long ride. I still had to get there, which about another mile. I had to finish riding there, and then I had to ride all the way home. So I had put a lot of stress on this hub axle assembly, is what I'm trying to tell you. I had that major lockup, and then it seemed like it was okay. I took off, like, this was before I knew what was going on. Now the engine was running funny, and about 25 miles an hour, and it locked up again. And then I had about 5 or 6 more of those lockups at about, I putted home 10 miles an hour, slow as I could pretty much go on the bike. The wheel went through a whole lot of stress that day, and I think that is what is led to this. So I'm not giving up on the sealed bearing setup, because honestly, it's still good right now. I putted it home on the way to the mailbox yesterday. I could feel 100%. I hit the gas and the bike went to the left, let off, and it just kept going wherever it was. I hit the gas again, and the bike would go to the left. Now, it's a 2-wheel vehicle, 1 wheel directly in front of the other. Wherever you point that front wheel, it should go, unless the other wheel is turning and dragging your back end out or dog-legging somewhere else. So that's what was happening. The rear wheel, when I'd hit the gas, because the bearing that's no good is on the sprocket side, so when I'd hit the gas, it would put torque on this, and because now this can move, now mind you, you can see it's not a lot, but that little bit of play here, by the time you get out here and you're wiggling it, it was literally moving this much. I kid you not. So when we pulled over at the stop sign after we left the mailbox, I'm like, oh, this isn't right. Let me just check. I want to make sure all my nuts and bolts are tight. I wiggle the wheel. I'm like, holy crap, that's really bad. We put all the weight in the tweaker because Benny was riding tweaker at this point, and I was like, let's just keep Jokester as light as possible and go slow home, because I honestly thought it was bare metal in there, because when at night it was really dark, so I couldn't see. All I could see was like what you could see here, like just a little bit like extra powder and stuff. Like it looked like maybe metal shaving, but it was, you know, pitch black out, and I had a light, but you still couldn't see what was going on. So I was really nervous I was destroying the hub, but I still had to get home. So I risked it for the biscuit, and I figured worst case scenario, if I destroy the hub, I can either get another set of wheels in another, 10 years, or I just tweakerize it. I do the same hub that I do in tweaker with this, and I'm not gonna do that yet. I'm gonna go back to the sealed bearings, because let's be honest, the sealed bearings are so smooth, guys. It's such a difference to have the sealed bearings over the ball bearings is so different. The smooth level is just ridiculously, it's probably measurable in some way. I don't know how you'd measure it, but it definitely has got to be, because it's noticeable when you ride it. So I really want to try to do the sealed bearings again. So I'm going to try to replace the bearing in here that's bad. And the bearing isn't as bad as I thought. Last night I thought it was the roller bearings were gone, and I was pretty much on race, and I was pretty much destroying the hub and everything. I was actually trying to lean to the right, trying to get the most of the weight on the right bearing, because the right one isn't moving at all. I'll show you in a second. So whatever, we'll take it apart, we'll look more. But so you could see right now, I'm sure you can see it is wibbling and wobbling. Another reason why I think all this stems from that original lockup. You see how this wheel is wobbling, or this axle is wobbling? I bend my axles all the time. I have only a few times bent them on this side of the wheel, and when I do, it's not very bad. 99% of the time it bends on this side of the wheel, because there's so much more axle on this side of the wheel, because you have this part, where it goes through the freewheel and all that, and you just got this much more space between the nut and the frame. So the fact that it went and bent on this side, definitely think it's all to do with that lockup. Side note, if you guys need tires, Surface Drifter, I put them on tweaker first, then I put them on Jokester. They might be the only tire I really go with on my daily from now on. It is the best tire I have ever used outside of the Vans Colt, the camouflage ones. Grip wise, I think they were a little above these for just regular dry grip, but I never really used that much grip needed for what I did and riding I do. So all in all, I think these are better. Those were tough, but I think these are even tougher as far as all that goes, because when I had a lockup on my other bike, I would have wore right through those tires. I was going slower and had a lockup, and I wore down almost as bad as that, if not a little worse, on the Colts when I originally got them. So these tires are holding up really well. So props to Surface and their model Drifter. You guys killed it. If you guys need tires, I make absolutely nothing from that, but I still recommend it 100%. I think LA actually recommends it too. If you talk to him, pretty sure he recommends the Surface Drifters, and he's tested a lot of tires. So all right, take what you want from what you want, but there you go. Okay, I got the axle out. It has a predominant bend. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'll show you if I can. It has a predominant bend on that side, 100%. Maybe you can see it like this. I don't know. I can see it. I don't know if you guys can, but the damage is much worse than I thought. So I'll show you the other side first so you can get an idea of what I'm looking at. This is the other bearing from the other side. Looks perfectly fine, nice and quiet. Now, when you fit it on, let's go to the other side because this one's not bent. You put it on the axle, it's a snug fit. See, don't pay attention to my hands moving because I'm trying to move it. I'm pushing hard to move it, but look at the actual bearing, the bad bearing. Bearing isn't actually really bad. I mean, it is. It's not like what we would think, what we consider bad. Now, if you look at the outside of the outside race on your right, see the different sheen? See how this one is much shinier and this one is not? Well, a bearing race is hardened steel. The only way to get a metal like this to be dull like that is for it to spin in its housing of what it's housed in. So when the wheel locked up, it caused much more problem than we thought. So this is the new axle. Now I showed you the other axle. This is the new axle I'm going to put in just so you can see, have an idea. Huh, that's the first time I'm putting it next to each other. That's a problem. They are not the same. That's a big problem. I can't use this axle. That sucks. It's the first time I'm putting them next to each other. So if you put where the bearings are supposed to ride next to each other, let me put this one so it's right. So first of all, I bought it. See how much more thread that one has? Awesome, right? Not moving it. Look, it's together. Going down, not moved, and boom. The bearing sits much different on this one. It's just lower. I didn't measure it, I mean, because it's the first time I'm literally seeing it, but that looks to me like 10 millimeters lower. That's a freaking problem, guys. I did not think that there was going to be variations like that, if I'm being completely honest. Well, anyway, let me show you what else I noticed. So this is the new axle. This is the bearing that got tore up. See the sheen? So you put it on. Pay attention to the bearing moving, not my hand. About the same as on the other axle. Same axle with the bearings that came with this kit. Huh? Look how much it moves. That means the inner diameter of the inner race is slightly different. That stinks. So even though the bearings say the same size, they are not perfectly by a micrometer the same size. But I'm not even worried about that, to be honest with you, because when you put this on, there's another, like a bolt or whatever, nut that goes down and holds it firm. So it would be up against its backing plate on the inner race and it will still work the way it should. I'm not worried about that little bit of play. Now my old set of bearings, or my old set of wheels, sorry, I'm just chilling in my room. I'm in my long johns. So my old set of wheels had it's 6200RS, and these are 6,000, these are 6,200. So this is a little bit bigger. For whatever reason, one of the bearings on, I forget which side, on Tweaker's set of wheels originally had one big bearing and then one bearing this side. So I saved this in case I was ever gonna need it. And I was honestly almost tempted to try to bore this out in a way and use it, but I'm not gonna. Now you guys can't feel it, obviously. So there is now a little lip here all the way around. There never used to be a lip. This is the bearing that came out of it. So the bearing didn't go bad. I mean, it is, you know, has excessive wear and heat on it, but it is still perfectly functioning and smooth. It wore it out. Look at that. It wore the actual hub itself out. Now the other side is not doing anything like that. So all the damage is 100% to the hub. As you can see and look in there, you can see it. So the only thing I can guess is when the wheel locked up on me, it put a whole lot of stress on it in one way or the other. I don't know, honestly. And it just probably put like the slightest little dimple, because this is only magnesium alloy. This is a pretty soft metal when it comes down to it. It has really good rigidity, but really good flex. But then there's like a point where it flexes and just snaps. So what I'm thinking, now mind you, I'm not a metallologist or whatever you call them, but it probably got a ding from when it froze, when the wheel locked up, and like put a ding, and then as I rode it more and more,
it hit that thing, and before you knew it, it was able to start doing one of these jobs, you know, and just spinning and 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 spinning
until we got to this point where we're at now. That is a definite problem. Now, I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna try to look for the proper length axle. I could have swore I bought 2 of these, but I can only find one of them. But it's a problem. So I don't know, guys. That's a real boodle. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Now I could put this all back together with this axle. I'm confident if I bend it, it will be okay-ish for now until I get a new one in. I'm kind of going through some money issues with a new job and whatnot, so we're working on that and working through it. But I'll be honest, things are not looking too good at this very present moment, although I do start my new job tomorrow, so I'm very happy about that. It's been like 3 weeks of searching and whatnot. When you're a criminal, it's hard to find stuff. There's a lot more hoops to jump through when you have a background like I have and done time and whatnot. So, all that being said, I'm probably gonna just bend this back for now until I can get a new one in, and I'll be okay with that. And the only thing I can come up with on this is I'll put a new bearing in, but I'm gonna have to center this and I'm gonna have to fill this in with JB Weld. It's the only thing I can come up with. You know, I'm confident that JB Weld will hold. You know, Tweaker's been riding on it for over a year, almost coming up on a year and a half. And I beat the snot out of that bike, and I've never had a problem with the hub. Now, mind you, it wasn't a sealed bearing. It is a ball bearing, but I did JB Weld the races into the, you know, the actual bicycle wheel hub. All right, so this is what I'm coming up with. I don't have the proper axle. The one that I have is no good, I showed you. No matter what, I will be able to get the JB Weld done tonight, and that needs to sit for 24 hours. I was debating on using the Quick, but I never have luck with that. I think I'm just gonna go with the old school JB Weld. Not to mention, this is a much harder finish. So with all that being said, this is where we sit with that. You see this, and then this goes on here, obviously, like so, and then this tightens down on top of it, like so, and that holds it all together. But as you can see, there is a lot of play, okay? Granted, that's only, what, maybe 1 mil, 2 mil when you push it all the way to the side. That is definitely enough to be a problem. Not to mention, there is also downward play. I can't really show you, but this is sitting on the shoulder of the bolt, but it is not sitting inside. So the exterior race is not sitting on anything being supported. It is just, you know, floating 100%. It doesn't even have the shelf down here. There, you know, down here it sits somewhere around here. It sits on the actual shoulder of the hub, and then also in cases around it. So the problem with that is I need it to do all of those things. So the only way we could do any of these things is if we JB Weld this in. Similar to what I did with the races on my other bike, my other set of wheels on Tweaker. So I've already prepared this. This is the hardest part, getting this to JB Weld in. The main reason it is so hard is because you have to get this one dead center perfect, otherwise your wheel will wobble. It'll be noticeable wobble, not something you can true out of it, which I got a plan for keeping it all centered. That's not really the hardest part, but you got to be precise on it. But I also got to get it filled in. So I got to JB Weld all this first. Make sure it's up in here, just a thin coat all the way up in here, real good. Then I have to put the bearing in and make sure the bearing seats as far as it can down, but I can't let it seat so far down. It has to sit on this, okay? So the bearing has to not be on this, it can't be on this edge. If the bearing is on this edge, it will not work. It will put pressure on everything all the time, and it will eventually either break the JB Weld or just the bearing will pop out or something, and I don't want that to happen. I etched in basically just some tiger stripes and different marks all the way around it. Now they're not deep, they're maybe 0.5 millimeters deep. I never measured them, I just, you know, did something by eyeball all the way around, so this way it's everywhere. That will give the JB Weld something to expand into when I push it all in there, so it will go in and rest in all of these spots, and it won't be able to just pull out because the JB Weld won't be able to shrink or fit past this once it hardens. So I'm confident with that. This is how I did Tweaker, and Tweaker is still kicking like a champ. Tweaker is amazing. I mean, I personally think Tweaker is super duper great as far as the reliability of those rims go. So we're back at the wheel. The wheel is finished, or so I think. Pardon the background noise, but I have my daughter here and she is watching some of her insanity little shows. So this is what we got. Okay, so the bearing is in and the bearing moves super easily. No pressure to take and move it at all. Real nice. The axle fits in completely fine and normal. Now you can see this axle has a slight little bend. This was the one that was in here that had that huge bend. So I bent it back. Honestly, I bent it back just for fitment purposes. I wasn't planning on using it at all. But now that it's bent back and everything's set up that size, I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do is try to get the little bit more straight out of that, and I'm just gonna put it back together the exact way I had it. Because no matter what, we still gotta ride it out and see how it does. Who knows, maybe this won't work. It's gonna work. So, all right, let me slap this together, and next time you'll see me with this, we'll probably be outside. Oh, complete. Next time you see me, with this rim, we'll be outside putting it on the bike. But meanwhile, since I was killing time and I needed to do stuff, look how nice, look how clean this is, guys. Look at this. It looks like a brand new motor. Tell me that doesn't look like it's a brand new motor. This was filthy, you know? This one was definitely more direct sunlight or in a corroded area or something. This one also has, see the brown? I think there was water in the bottom of this case and it was just rust staining it. because if you look at this thing was pretty gnarly. It's got a bunch of nastiness on it. But I mean, just look how clean the ultrasonic gets it, man. It is like brand new. And if I was, this is only 2 passes. If I was to put this in for 3, 4, 5, whatever, it would get this everywhere. It would make all of this perfectly clean. Also, I crowded to have both of these in instead of just one of them, just trying to get it done a little quicker. Only reason I wanted to get it super clean is because I'm going to end up doing ultra gray or moto seal, whatever, on here, and no gasket. So I wanted to make sure that the mating surfaces are super clean. If you don't have a super clean surface, you will get an air leak somewhere, and you're chasing down a bike that seems to run okay, and you're thinking it's lean because there's an air leak where you can't see it. All right, guys, we are outside. Let's get gloved up and let's get this together. She seems ready to go. Okay, guys, little choke, a lot of choke, rather.
11 minutes later.
Oh, I forgot. The whole reason that I was doing this was not for the brakes, was because the axle was busted. Because the axle was messed up. So she's doing good. It's true, it's straight. Yeah, when I hit the gas, it doesn't pull one way or the other. Alright guys, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in the fun and coming for the ride with me, even if it was just a real quick ride to do a little bit of testing. We are 100% successful with that wheel, and we got the brake to grab properly, which I'm really happy about because that was something I didn't even know I wanted to do. Well, that's not true. I always knew I wanted to do it, but I'm glad I found a really easy way to figure out. I don't know why it took me so long before, but hey, what can you do? You live and learn. This one, man, tweaker, I'm speechless. I can't wait to get some new paint on her come spring or summer. Got to get that front brake hooked up. All in all, though, with that new suspension that I got on there and style handlebars that she's got now, she is way more comfortable than she was and way sportier feeling. And jokester, what can you say, man? She is a trooper. She is like riding a Cadillac, especially with that new seat post that I got on there. The brakes, much better. The wheel, sturdy, stout, strong. Didn't even know it had an issue. She's brand new again. Absolutely loving it. So good, so happy. So only thing left to do now is to ride them and love them. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching, but don't forget, hit the like, hit the subscribe, go over to Johnny's Motorized Bicycles Facebook group. There's a link in the description right below it. There's also a link to the chat for the group. Join that, join in on the fun, post some pictures, YouTube channel, whatever, I don't care, just motorized bike related. Join in and be part of the community because I absolutely love our community. I think it's a great little community that we got going on here. So as always, guys, I appreciate you guys coming along, and I'll talk to you later. Peace. All right, so we're back inside. We did great with Jokester. The rim was amazing. It was perfect. It was really perfect. You saw. So we're back inside. So Jokester's done. We're back on this motor. I'm really digging this case. This is a really, really clean case. I think this is what they call a rat. Like when you hear them say the rat builds or whatever, I think that's what this is. I think I got myself a rat.